Hi guys, Dom here from eSports News UK. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different and look at the Gfinity Elite Series, a new tournament that's been announced on its way by Gfinity, and it looks to me like this could really make or break UK eSports. I really want to provide some analysis and some opinion in this video. This video is not designed to be a news video, it's my opinion mixed with a bit of analysis of some of the new information that's come to light, which I've learned. And I wanted to do a video because there's so much to cover here. You can just do several articles and it gets very messy and no one will read them because it'll be too long and everything. So I've learnt some new info around the Gfinity World Series and how that works with the Elite Series, and also the franchising models involved with the 8 teams taking part in the Elite Series. And before anyone says, "Why are you doing this, Dom?" I don't want to come across negative. You know, some people will question what I'm doing, but I'm a journalist at the end of the day. I will analyse, I will scrutinise, and I will ask questions. If I don't do this, then I'm not doing my job properly. And you know, this is arguably, in my opinion, the biggest thing to happen to UK esports in years. It could have massive ramifications on the scene, positive ones and negative ones as well. So I want to provide a balanced view. At the moment, there seems to be sort of 2 types of people in the UK scene, or 3, around this news. Those who are in the Elite Series or involved in it somehow, who seem to be very, very happy with everything and excited, and then there's those who aren't in it and who are a little bit confused, a little bit concerned, and there are some that are just excited about it as well. It's a bit of a mix. So first of all, what is it? What is the Gfinity Elite Series? It's a new tournament that focuses on 3 games: CSGO, Rocket League, and Street Fighter 5. And the idea is that there's a sort of Challenger Series anyone can sign up to. They take part in the Challenger Series. It looks like it's going to be mixed teams. Gfinity's eSports director Paul Kent, I did an interview with him a few weeks back, and he said that, you know, it's possible that it will be mixed teams taking part in this. And as the players take part in the Challenger Series, they build up G points. As they build up those G points, the more G points they can get, the ones at the top of the table at the end of the Challenger Series will be able to take part in a Gfinity Elite Series draft, and from there they'll be able to get picked up by 8 of the teams that are taking part in the Elite Series, so sort of higher level teams. And from what I understand, each of those Elite Series teams will have a roster of 5 players, and then they'll be able to take 2 players each from the Challenger Series Elite Series draft in each game, so potentially 6 per organisation per season. So the Challenger Cups are actually starting this week, April the 3rd, and the Challenger Series runs in May, I believe. The Elite Series draft is in June and July. That's according to a new email I've received from Gfinity this weekend. Okay, so why is this a big deal? Well, if you look at the prize pool, it's £100,000 plus per season, which is obviously huge. And you know, it's a pro-am tournament. It's you know, it's mixing those sort of lower level amateur tier players in the Challenger Series with some of the higher tier players, pro players in the Elite Series, which I think is great. I'd love to see more pro-ams. I think they really work. League of Legends did a League Fest Pro-Am at Insomnia last year, and I thought that was brilliant, mixing the amateur players with the pros and former pros. So, you know, it gets a lot of eyeballs watching. People come to watch the pros, and then they'll also see some up-and-coming talent as well, who can become the pros of the future. So I think that's great. Gfinity have said that there's going to be cash prizes as high as £900 for the Challenger Cups, for winning the Challenger Cups in the tournament. So it's a big deal money-wise, and then so it's providing this sort of path to pro, which is massive, right? It's going to help the grassroots a lot in the UK potentially. So if we look at the teams that have been announced so far include 4 UK orgs in the Elite Series: XL Esports, Team Infused, Reason Gaming, and Prophecy. Obviously, Infused are huge in the UK scene, and Excel and Reason are very well known as well. Prophecy was a little bit of a strange one. I've heard rumblings, may or may not be correct, that Prophecy have ties with Infused. Well, they do have ties with Infused because their CEO, Oliver Sellers, is project and marketing director for Team Infused, according to his LinkedIn profile. So that's a little bit strange, and for me personally, I don't like how Gfinity have gone around that. If they've just picked someone that's their friend or has got ties with another team as well, like it's a bit strange. I don't think that's right, especially when there's a lot of other great teams and CS:GO teams in the UK scene, like FM eSports and Team Endpoint, just to name a couple. Why did they not get reached out to over this? But they're in there. The thing with Prophecy is as well, I think they've been focused on US esports since 2014, so this is a new thing for them, sort of going back to the UK scene. And their CEO said this will be our first time appearing in these competitive titles, but as always we want to aim high and make a strong impact. So that was a little bit strange for me. The other thing I found strange as well was Gfinity was shouting about this for ages, that the Elite Series is going to have like top teams and it's going to be a top world-class tournament. And for the orgs are UK based. Like, don't get me wrong, I love UK esports orgs, of course I do. I run this website for that reason, but they're not. Those don't strike me as world class like the Fanatics, Team Dignitas of the world. But Gfinity shut me up the next day last week when I did an analysis piece on this, and they announced that Team MVS would be taking part in the Elite Series as well, which is brilliant because they're obviously a huge organisation. They're going to be potentially taking up and coming talent from the UK CS:GO and Street Fighter and Rocket League scenes into their organisation, and I think that's brilliant. I expect the remaining 3 teams in the Elite Series, because there's going to be 8, I expect the remaining 3 will be of Team MVS's calibre. I expect those kind of orgs to be in there, and that is brilliant. This is a massive moment for UK esports. There's potentially 4 huge world-class teams taking part in this, and then the 4 UK orgs as well. So in a way, I think it's good that they've mixed the 2, but for me personally, I think it would have been great to have 8 world-class teams and then UK orgs taking part in the Challenger Series. But then that raises questions, why would UK orgs take part if all their players are going to just leave to higher teams? Gfinity have said that they will make a payment to a UK org, like a grassroots org, if one of their players joins an Elite Series team. They haven't told me what that payment will be yet, when that information is coming. A lot of Gfinity's strategy around PR for me has been confusing as a journalist. They keep making, like, it seems to be a mini announcement every day or two, and it's quite hard to keep track of. They just keep holding back news, so we don't get the full picture, and that's created a bit of sort of confusion in the UK scene for those, like I was saying, that aren't in the Elite Series. So those are the teams. I can't see, like I say, I think that's going to be great when we get the remaining 3 teams announced, hopefully this week. That's positive for me. So I was talking about the confusion. I know that several orgs have contacted me and they have concerns as well. So I did a big piece here. Should amateur teams be concerned about the Gfinity Elite Series? UK scenes react. And I'm just scrolling down to the concerns here. The owner of M&M Gaming, who've done really well in the UK scene in the past few years, won League of Legends ESL Premierships, and I think they won a CS:GO Premiership last year as well. He's tweeted saying, FM don't even get into Gfinity. What? XL, Kieran Holmes Darby from XL Esports, it's like I was saying earlier, is one of the happy ones. This is a huge step forward for the XL brand. He says, we also realise our role in the UK esports ecosystem is to nurture talent. #StartPlaying. Adam Jessup from Team Endpoint has said that the lack of transparency is worrying. He said the inclusion of an organisation, Prophecy, that's been inactive for the past 2 years and North America focused before then, when other organisations have seemingly been ignored, is confusing to say the least. James Cook from IGI eSports has said he's sort of concerned. His concerns are aimed at his players. He can't tell them not to play in the Challenger Series, but that he has contracted players tied into events and he wants to build a long-term relationship with them. You know, these are the kind of the ramifications I was talking about. It's a great idea what Gfinity have got, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic, but it will have effects on these other orgs that aren't taking part. Could they lose a lot of their top players? Could it push them out of Counter-Strike, Street Fighter, Rocket League? Who knows? You know, we don't know what's going to happen yet. And we've had a few others there saying that we've had Adam Newell, writer for eSports, saying that he feels it's been a little lackluster because he thinks people were overhyping to begin with, and I agree with him there. There've been a lot of announcements coming back from last November. Gfinity really bigging up this world-class tournament. It's going to change everything, you know, and it could do, but so far it hasn't started yet, so we're yet to see if that's the case. And one org, I've actually had two orgs since the publication of this article saying that it's going to kill them. They've told me that anonymously, and I won't be going into names, but I don't make stuff like this up, guys, so people have serious concerns about this. Yeah, so there was a lot of reaction last week. So I've covered the teams. Looking at the effects it will have on teams that aren't in the Challenger Series, like I say, yeah, could it push some out of those games? Could it attract them to the Challenger Series? You know, if Gfinity are making a payment to them for any players that leave them and join an Elite Series team, maybe they want to be involved. This money could be vital for them. It could help them pay for a travel accommodation to lands. You know, it could help them make other investments into their brands. It can help them get more sponsors. Who knows what it could do? But it's very unclear at the moment what's going to happen. In a way, it's quite exciting to see what's going to happen, because it is a big sort of change in UK sports. I can sort of feel it's like a sort of calm before the storm. So it'll be interesting to see what happened with those guys. Interestingly, I was watching a sort of YouTube podcast made by a couple of guys the other week, and they made a really good point. So this podcast was done by David Stapleton and Rossi Lele. I hope I pronounced that right. Who did a Gfinity Challenger Series discussion based around the interview I did with Paul Kent a few weeks ago. So thanks for doing that, guys. I thought it was a really good job. I'm going to put a link in the description to this video so people can check it out. They just chatted for sort of half an hour about the ramifications, things that could happen. But this was before the Team MVS announcement, so it is a little bit older now. But they made a great point, which I wanted to highlight, and they said that the fact that Gfinity are going to be paying some of these orgs if their players are taken and things like that could create a lot of troll orgs. So orgs being banded together or set up just to enter the Challenger Series, just to take these signing on payments from Gfinity, and that these orgs might not be orgs. There might be one guy with a Twitter account, made a logo in Photoshop, got his mates together, a couple he knows are pretty good in CSGO and the other games, takes the signing on fees. When it's all over, bye-bye, disbands, and he's got a few grand or something, you know. And we don't want that, because for me that will undermine the real hard work of established amateur organisations who've been around for years potentially and put a lot of hard work in, time and their own money in. So I don't want to see these fake orgs created just to leech money off Gfinity. I think that's a serious concern, and I hope that doesn't happen. So I want to sort of tap in now to some of the other bits of information I learned over the past few days, over the weekend. This has come from various off-the-record comments and information and things like that. So the first one is this Gfinity World Series. I think this is really interesting. Gfinity have hinted themselves that the Elite Series is going to be a UK National League, and they've had sort of aspirations for a global league. What did they say? Let me have a look real quick at their first announcement back in November. Gfinity CEO Neville Upton said, "This is what the UK esports community has been waiting for, and we can't wait to take this truly global. Let's try that again, shall we? That was a mouthful. He said, "This is what the UK esports community has been waiting for, and we can't wait to take this truly global." So they've got plans. They've got global plans. There was a few other stories I think that mentioned the fact that they want to take it global. Let's have a real quick look here. They've said they want more gamers playing harder and better at the top level, and to pave the way for more UK pro teams being formed that can go on and compete at global events. That's kind of another hint. But anyway, the info I've learned is that there's going to be a Gfinity World Series at the top above the Elite Series. So they're hinting that they're going to have Elite Series and Challenger Series in other nations. And the nations I've heard that they're going to be in are Russia, China, Poland, Turkey, Korea, Malaysia and South Africa. And I've heard that they're going to be sort of rolling out this Elite Series to a number of different areas across the globe. And, you know, how they're linked, how this World Series is going to work, I don't know. All I know is there will be a World Series, and I think it's a cool idea. I do think it's a good idea, and it does remind me of the different ESL national leagues they have. The ESL Premiership in the UK and Ireland, and they've got one in Germany, and there's a few others there. But I get the feeling this World Series could be very big. You know, it could be, I guess it's different Elite Series teams in each country. Maybe it's the winner of each Elite Series team in each country playing each other in a sort of Champions League style tournament. That could be fantastic if that happens. But if that does happen, that brings me to my next point. Why the hell is there no League of Legends here? Now, of course, I'm biased. I love League of Legends, and eSports News UK, the site I run, focuses mainly on UK League of Legends. But Riot Games have talked about this path to pro for ages, and I like what they do. At the moment, the ESL Premiership winners progress to the Challenger Series qualifiers. From there, if they make it into the Challenger Series, from there they have the potential to make the LCS, which is like the top level of League of Legends. So why the thing at the moment is, for me, the ESL Prem progression to Challenger Series, it isn't working as well as it could be right now. Like, don't get me wrong, I like ESL, I admire and respect everything they do, and they do a hell of a lot for esports in the UK. But last year, when Eminem won the ESL Premiership, their players, like a week later, put out tweets saying, I'm looking for offers in national leagues. So something isn't working there. They don't want to stick together to play in the Challenger Series qualifiers. They want to just join other teams. There's no incentive. There's not enough of an incentive for them to stay together in the Challenger Series, keep their brand together, keep the players together. You can't blame the players. They all just want to join the teams that will be able to pay them. You know, will they be able to earn higher prize money? So why couldn't have Gfinity done a World Series in League of Legends? You know, that an Elite Series with League of Legends. I mean, don't get me wrong. Respect to Rocket League and Street Fighter. They're good growing esports, and in Street Fighter's been around as an esport for absolutely ages. You know, so but they're not as big as League of Legends, and I feel personally Gfinity have missed a big opportunity here. I would have loved to have seen a League of Legends Elite Series, and it would have been so great for the UK scene. I mean, if we look at my interview with Paul Kent the other week, he said, I did ask him about, is League of Legends a game you're looking at? Why has Gfinity not been involved in this game too much? And he said, we've got a good relationship with Riot, and we've done a few things with them. We've had League of Legends on the website a few years ago. I would love for everyone to work together. Ultimately, esports is a business as well, so what we try and do is not go head to head with fellow UK organisations. Sometimes there's overlaps. I think ESL UK and Multiplay do some great work with League of Legends. There's no point in doing the same things. Let's try and be a bit different. I kind of disagree. They are being different by doing the Elite Series. The Elite Series is very different to Multiplay's UK Masters and ESL's Premiership, in my opinion. You know, it would have been great to see that, but who knows, for future years, for future seasons, maybe League could come in. Maybe Riot sees what, if Gfinity does have success in CSGO, Rocket League and Street Fighter, Riot think, maybe we should be doing a tournament with these guys rather than just Multiplayer and ESL. Who knows? But for me, I'm super gutted because I know there's a lot of great players in UK League of Legends that this would have benefited them. So I'm super gutted that that's not the case. So I've covered most of the stuff here. The main thing I've sort of left till last. This is a big piece of info that I've come across, and this is like the franchise model that Gfinity are using for the Elite Series. So basically, Gfinity are looking for investors to sort of own an Elite Series team as a franchise, right? And that investor or brand will get support from Gfinity. I understand that the franchise opportunity is not entirely exclusive. I'll come on to that a little bit later. But Gfinity are asking for an annual fee of £100,000 from a franchise investor. And Gfinity have also said that for investors, they can acquire arrange for the acquisition of a leading existing UK team, including team manager. So I've reached out. I heard another bit of misinformation the other day, and I reached out to the UK teams that are taking part in the challenge in the Elite Series. And I basically said to them, well, I had heard that Gfinity sort of owns part of them, or may own part of them now that they're in the Elite Series. And 2 of the 4 got back to me and basically said, they wouldn't go into details, but they said that no one else owns their org at the moment. So they didn't go into detail, but it sort of tallies up with this other information I've heard since, that someone else could own them in the future, and that will explain why they're all bloody happy, because there could be big sort of investment money for these UK teams, and I think that's fantastic. You know, if that is the case, you look at some of the orgs, some of the investors that have come in recently. Philadelphia 76ers acquiring Team Dignitas and Apex. Lionsgate have invested in Immortals. And Miami Heat recently invested in Misfits. You know, there's all these big brands coming in looking to invest in eSports, acquire eSports franchises, and Gfinity's right to target those guys. So what else have I heard? I've heard that Gfinity is going to put half of all sponsorship and broadcast sales it makes into a pot, and that pot will go across the 8 franchise teams and players. So makes sense for these teams wanting to be a part of the Elite Series, right? Because they're going to have access to, if the sponsorship sales are really high for Gfinity, those franchise teams are going to take a split of that. Gfinity reckons that this pot is going to be up to £1 million by the end of the 3rd year, or by year 3. So, and they've also said 60% of the pot will be made available to team owners. This is what I've heard. This is not what Gfinity have said. That 60% of the pot will be made available to team owners, and about 2/3 of that will be spread evenly across the teams, with 1/3 allocated according to league position. And franchise owners will also get clip packages with like video edited highlights of the matches, and they can distribute that to their own social media platforms and things like that. And the franchise owners also have permission to make their own clothing and accessory ranges, right? So there's a lot of opportunities there, a lot of money flowing about in UK esports, which is good to see. So yeah, the franchise owners also have some sponsorship rights as well. Can get their own sponsorship agreements in with different brands. Yeah, so this is the point I was saying earlier, where I don't think it's fully exclusive. I understand that franchises will still be able to, like their teams will still be able to take part in other tournaments and earn prize money outside the Elite Series, as long as it's outside of sort of live event weekends. So the Elite Series is taking place on weekends. So yeah, and then the franchise owner, as on top of their £100,000 annual fee, they'll also be responsible for, employing coaches, management, player contracts, sorting out travel and accommodation for their teams, and yeah, that's the franchising model, guys. The other bit of info I've heard is that outside of this, Gfinity have been doing a lot of other little things behind the scenes towards the end of last year, or around during 2016 have sort of been looking to outright acquire UK esports organisations, and I understand they've been doing this. How do you use the word? Don't want to say aggressively, but they've been, really looking to acquire some of the orgs, or at least they were thinking about it at some point. So I've heard they wanted to acquire a bunch of orgs and rebrand them. Yeah, so I've heard that they were looking to either fully acquire or invest part of between 4 and 6 UK organisations, which is huge. And this may have nothing to do with the Elite Series. This might have been something else they're planning and it didn't work out, or maybe there's an announcement to come. Maybe I've got some of this slightly wrong, guys. Like I say, it's analysis, it's opinion. This is not news as such. This is tidbits of info that I've figured out, and there's way too much to put into an article. So, but from what I understand, that didn't fully happen. So, me saying this now might be completely pointless. But what I'm saying is, Gfinity have been snooping around the UK esports scene. They want to obviously do big things, but they also have the power and the influence to really change the UK esports landscape. And that's just something for everyone to be aware of, I think. Okay, so that's most of it. And then the last thing then, guys, have a quick look. I know that Gfinity, I didn't cover this story on eSports News UK because it was a little bit dry, but Gfinity recently announced their latest financial report, so I just want to look into that while I'm talking about them and see how they're doing. So it looks like they had a rise in revenue for the second half of 2016. So they had revenues of over £900,000, which is a 45% increase on revenues from the same period in 2015. That's according to a story by Sam Cook on Esports Insider. And however, Gfinity recorded a loss of 1.7 million in that time. However, that loss is down £200,000 from the same period the year prior. So they're still losing money, but their sales are up. So that's overall, that's quite positive. But that just sort of goes to show the kind of numbers they're working in at the moment. And who knows what their financials are going to be in the next couple of years. They could really ramp up with this Elite Series. It has a lot of potential. Part of me is worried about it and what it might do to some of the UK esports organisations. Some of them might disappear. More of them might emerge. We're in a sort of limbo at the moment where we're not fully sure what's going to happen. And but look, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not trying to be negative towards Gfinity. I'm just trying to do my job. They've been a little bit difficult with how they put out information, so it makes my job harder. But I found this information out. I will find out information one way or another, and I will keep doing that. But ultimately, I want to stay positive around this and believe that they could do some great things in UK esports. But I do think they can communicate things a little bit better and update the UK esports scene. Yeah, it's a difficult one for me to say. I'm 100% backing Gfinity or I'm 100% against them. I'm not. I am kind of on the fence at the moment, waiting to see what will happen. Everything will come to light over the next few months to see how this Elite Series does. So maybe by the end of summer, I'll have a sort of clearer and better formed opinion on what's happening. But either way, I think it's quite exciting times in UK sports, and we'll have to see what happens next. If anyone else has any info, comments, opinion you want to send me, do reach out to me, dom@esports-news.co.uk, or on Twitter @dom_Sacco or @esports_news_UK. And to keep up to date with all the stories and interviews and things like that in the UK scene, guys, do check out esports-news.co.uk. And I think that's all the plugs for now. We've got a Twitch channel as well, so we're going to be doing some more like live interviews and things like that, hopefully over the next few weeks, talking to different UK orgs. But I'm rambling now, so I will leave you with that information. Do with what you like with it, and just whatever happens, he's hoping that UK esports can reach the next level, and there's positive things ahead. Cheers for watching, guys. Bye bye.